Stephen F. Austin had war on his mind. Sam Houston sensed that perhaps his time had arrived too. In a mass meeting in Nacogdoches, Sam Houston echoed the call for a gathering of Tejano leaders at San Felipe. His supporters agreed. They also named him the commander of the militia of the Department of Nacogdoches. In this most American town in Texas, they began referring to themselves for the first time as Texans. They were different than merely American Tejanos. That same month, General Martin Perfecto de Cos with 500 men of the Morelos Battalion landed at the small port of Copano on Corpus Christi Bay. These soldados were fresh from breaking up the Coahuila government. Now they would establish a supply base at La Bahia before continuing to Bear. The return of a sizable contingent of government troops to Texas sent a clear message. Resistance to Antonio López de Santa Anna would not be tolerated. General Cos conferred with Colonel Domingo de Ugartechea to get an idea of what he was facing in Tejas. There were agitators, the colonel reported. If they were arrested, it might calm things down. William Barrett Travis was on top of the list. So was Lorenzo de Zavala, Santa Anna's one-time friend and now bitter enemy. In fact, the list was growing, including anyone who had ever served in the government of Coahuila y Tejas or had been involved in anti-government activities. Hotheads and malcontents had fired a cannon at Fort Anahuac. Other thugs had used artillery against the post at Velasco. Clearly, these ruffians would not hesitate to use heavy weapons to express their discontent with the government. The militias, which clearly supported the Federalists, would not be as hard to dissolve without their big guns. There was a cannon in Gonzales. Perhaps Ugartechea's men could grab it without much trouble. Cos agreed that recovering that weapon would be a good start to breaking up the militias in Tejas. It could be added to the hodgepodge of artillery lying around the compound at the headquarters of the 2nd Flying Company of Alamo de Parras at the repurposed mission of San Antonio de Valero. As ordered, Ugartechea sent a small detachment of infantry to Gonzales and requested that the inhabitants turn over their cannon.
No way!
They declined. If the government soldiers wanted it, there must be a reason. Were the inhabitants of Tejas, of Texas, about to be disarmed? Who were these strangers, these newly arrived soldados of the Morelos Battalion? Irritated, the footsore soldiers turned around and headed back to Bear, without the cannon. Word of the encounter traveled throughout Tejas. So did rumors that Colonel Ugartechea intended to oversee the trial, conviction, and execution of every person on his hit list. The new regime in Mexico intended to purify Tejas of any Federalist. Reports of the systematic destruction and slaughter in Zacatecas had also become common knowledge. The overthrow of the state government in Monclova and the jailing of the governor and key Tejanos like Ben Milam and John Cameron revealed Cos's intentions. For many, this seemed oddly familiar. People in Bear and the San Antonio River Valley remembered the Spanish purges in 1813 and 1814, the execution of suspected rebel sympathizers, the jailing of the women in La Quinta. As young men, Santa Anna and Ugartechea had been among those Spanish oppressors. What had they learned over the past 20 years?